A little bit east of La Crosse, in the Driftless area, you'll come across West Salem, which has a number of farms and rolling farmlands as you drive through the countryside. In the late 1800s and early 1900s, the dairy farmers in the West Salem area were anxious to get their milk to the nearest creamery, which was in Mindoro, just on the other side of that range of hills you see up ahead. The problem was that these hills between West Salem and Mindoro were just too steep to get a road through during the late 1800s. That meant that if farmers in West Salem wanted to get their milk to the creamery in Mindoro, they had to go all the way around these hills. And likewise, the creamery in Mindoro, if they wanted to get their cheese to the railway station, also had to come all the way around these hills. It wasn't just that they would have had to navigate these winding hills in a horse and buggy, although that was bad enough. The biggest barrier was a 74-foot tall ridge of stone that stood in their way when they got to the top of this hill. So after years of dealing with this problem and going around this barrier, the farmers finally decided, you know what, let's just take care of this. And they made what you see behind me, which is known as the Mindoro Cut. As you can see in this photo of the cut in its early stages, this wall of rock was too steep to get horse and buggy teams up and down, so they had to do everything by hand and haul the rock down by wheelbarrow. Because most of this cutting had to take place with hand tools, it took them almost 2 years to finish the job. But they finally broke through in 1908. So even though the clothes that people wear has changed an awful lot in the last 112 years, the cut itself looks about the same. As it turns out, this is the second biggest cut made through rock by hand in the entire Western Hemisphere. That's 1/2 of the entire world. So today we're still benefiting from the work those farmers put in. Today it just takes a few seconds to get through here, whereas before it used to take them days. Now that may sound like an awful lot of work just to make some cheese. What you have to realize is that by putting that time in, even though it took them 2 years to carve this out of the rock, that saved them so much time of having to go around this whole range of hills. And putting in that extra time at the beginning ended up saving them loads and loads of time in the end. So what I admire about this whole thing is these farmers didn't just say, well, this is the way it's got to be. There's a mountain in the way. We can't do anything about it. They chose to dig in and find a different way to overcome their barriers. Maybe the barrier in your way is a social one. Sometimes when you don't get along with people, it's easy to say, oh, we'll never get along, and then you just go around that mountain range and never find a way of dealing with the problems that you have with somebody. Maybe the barrier in your way is an academic one. You feel like you've been going uphill when you're trying to read something or working on math and doesn't come quickly to you. So today's challenge is to follow the example of those farmers from over 100 years ago and to carve right through our problems and start working at them instead of always going around them.
So right now in your classes, please discuss your choice of the following 2 questions. What is a time you have worked through a challenge instead of avoiding it? Or, what is a challenge you want to take on right now?
It might take years, just like it did for them. But what can you start moving away, shovelful by shovelful, that'll help you get better? All right, you take care.